some movements say the movement is not ready to take on the challenges of Italy, the failing banks, the economy, the high unemployment, and also provide answers for progress for the future, hope for the young. Are you ready?
We are ready, but those critical with us are the same that has failed in these years. So, I mean, nobody rely on them anymore. We have been in politics now since 2009, and the last 3 years we have demonstrated that we turned by protest to proposals. We have a strong electoral program in all the areas of the government action, since starting from the energetical resources to the migration problem to the foreign affairs when I'm working in, and so we are ready. Yes, we demonstrated it already, and this referendum gave also this answer. I mean, people don't rely anymore to the establishment, and the so-called anti-establishment Renzi, self-defined like this, has failed totally.
You want to see an election happen immediately, don't you?
Yeah. We won election since, I mean, can you believe it that we are at the third government never elected by anyone? I mean, the Italian people, they voted for the PD of Mr. Bersani 3 years ago. Then we had Enrico Letta, and then we had Renzi. I mean, we have to ask people what they want, and I think that the answer now will be 5% movement.
Do you not think that it's in some way irresponsible in terms of the future of this country to be stirring up anti-Euro, anti-EU sentiment at a time when what Italy really needs, as much as domestic policy, is foreign investment, is the confidence of the markets? Do you not worry that your policies are irresponsible?
I think that the confidence of the market lies on the credibility of the politics leading the country. And if you look at what we had in the last 10 years, we had Berlusconi, then Monti, and then Renzi. All of them have failed because the markets were down anyway. So I think that we should stop thinking that the market is just based on the concept of stability. It is based on the concept of good politicians and good policies. So I think that, as I said before, we have the good political agenda, to bring to Italy. So once we will be able to apply this agenda that we have, the markets will understand that we are reliable and we can work properly internally and also in foreign affairs.
A good agenda you may have, what you don't seem to have though is a depth of political experience.
What is a political experience? I mean, I think that a good politician is who is able to listen to people, to understand the political momentum, and to find the right answer to this political momentum.
A populist, in other words?
No, it's not a well, depends what if you give to the word populist a bad meaning. I give a good meaning. Being populist means to listen to people. If this is the answer, we are proud to be populist. But anyway, look internationally. I mean, if you go through Brexit, Trump election, and all the movements that are rising up all around Europe, they are connected not by their own origins, but the feeling of people. Everywhere in Europe, there is this sentiment to bring voice back to people. If you look at Trump election, he was elected not in the rich part of the country, but in the poorest one. Look in France, look all around the world. So we have nothing to share with Nazist parties or extreme left or right, doesn't matter. We always say that we are above all these usual ideologies, but we have brought people again in the political daily life, and the Italian people understood it. I mean, who is relying on us is who understood that with us at the government, the normal citizen will have voice again. And that's very important, because if you look at the Partito Democratico electoral program in 2013, there was nothing about the constitutional reform. there was to cutting the military expenses and all other things like this. And they did the opposite of what was written in the electoral program. So why should people rely on them anymore? And if you look at our electoral program, even if we were not at the government, we did everything that was possible by opposition. We cut our own salaries of the 50%, we gave back more than 80 million euros to the state, and with this money, 3,000 small enterprises were born with our money. Everything that we promised and we were able to do without being at the government, we already did. So this process, from protest to a strong credibility, was made by us in just 3 years, and people understood it.
One example of populism, for instance, might be the promise that is frequently made of a referendum on the euro if you are to gain power, when in fact, of course, that isn't easy to achieve. You have to change the constitution to do it. And if anything, we've learned now that changing the constitution is immensely difficult in this country.
It's immensely difficult when you try to change 47 articles without a parliamentarian majority and without asking to the parliament. Because what Renzi did was to force this reform from a governmental point of view. When you look at the constitution, you see that it's written over there how to change the chart. And it's written small pieces without the governmental control of the reform. Because it's something that has to represent the people's willings. So if you want to, we changed the constitution in 2006 last time. So it is possible if we change 1 article, 2 articles, small pieces. We want to give people voice on the referendum of the Eurozone, simply because what we claim to the past government, that time was Mr. Prodi from the Partito Democratico, was to have brought Italy into the Eurozone without asking people. So if now the Italian citizen life is worse than before, is made also this. So we don't want to make the same mistake. We have our own personal ideas on the Eurozone. I have my idea, for example. But I will ask to people, because if we say and we said that we want to represent people, we need to ask them.
So you think it would be quite easy to arrange a referendum on the euro deal?
Nothing is easy in this world, but if you have the political willingness to do it, you can do it. But I want to tell you something more. This is not our first point in the agenda. First, we want to fix the internal problem. We have a terrible labor market. We have the highest peak of unemployment in Italy, 13%, the average, and 43% the youth unemployment. So this is our first political goal. And the second one is to help the entrepreneurs that in Italy are heroes. I mean, if you want to do a startup in Italy, you have to be an hero, because from the day zero you pay 63% of taxation, you pay in advance all the employees, and you don't get any money from the banking institutions. So we need a national bank, we need to loan money to entrepreneurs, and this is what we want to do. Then obviously there will be the time to talk about the Eurozone, and I think that moment will come together to other countries in Europe. Look at Greece, what happened, and we will be back in Greece at the same moment of the referendum that they had already. We will be back soon, because I mean they are not fixing everything, because it's not possible with this austerity concept. Look at other countries. I think that there will be a specific historical momentum where Europe, the whole European Union, will discuss deeply on what Eurozone is and where we can go with Eurozone.
This country has had 65, 68 governments in the last 70 years. What confidence do you have that the Five-Star Movement can come and go as anything more than a footnote in history?
We know that we are pretty different from the others in terms that, you know, what's the biggest problem in Italy from the political perspective is that once they got to power, they all try to maintain the power. Meaning, so they start doing incredible coalition. Like this government, the Renzi one that just failed yesterday, was made in the Patto del Nazareno. So in this meeting between among Renzi and Berlusconi, so right and left, they came together against us. So when you do a government based on nothing, because they shouldn't share any political idea. It's obvious that at the first problem they fell down. So we have our own ideas. We have nothing to share with people that have destroyed our country in the last 30 years, and we hope to have the people pushing behind us to bring us to the government. If this condition will be satisfied, we will be able to govern.
And you see no irony in the anti-establishment party, Five Star Movement, supporting the no side in this referendum, essentially supporting the status quo, no change to the way government is run whatsoever.
The establishment is not using the constitution as its own umbrella. The establishment is using all the other rules that we have in the chamber and in the Senate. We have the internal rules able to, with a lot of tricks, to go around the constitution. You know, the one very important judge of the Constitutional Court said recently, we should not change the constitution. We should start applying it after 70 years. So this government has never applied the constitution. So we want to reform the country. With our electoral program, we are forced to change the constitution, to apply our own electoral program. But as I said before, you can change the constitution small pieces by small pieces with a specific goal.
To suit your own ends.
With a specific goal to reach. The only goal of this reform was to bring more power to the government, and this is not what Italian parliament can accept.
Okay, Stefano, thanks so much.